So this is the drone boomerang effect, and in this video we're going to go through step by step how you create one of these in your videos. Now I really like using this effect to just show like the scene, like it's really easy to be centered on your subject and then whoosh, you see the entire view of wherever you're at, and it doesn't take a lot of time. And the whole idea behind creating the boomerang is that you can loop this backwards and forwards so that you can create a cool effect that loops infinitely that you can use for social media. But you can also just use the quick swoop out or the quick swoop in all the other videos that you're creating, so you can get this quick bounce between a subject and a viewpoint or vice versa. So how this video is laid out is step 1, filming, step 2, speed ramp, step 3, motion blur, step 4, sound effects, and then step 5, music, and step 6, color grading. So first, let's just get into filming. What are the things that you want to do to be able to film your drone shot so that you can get this cool, expansive, boomerang looking effect? So first is that when you're flying, you want to start in on a subject and then fly out to reveal the scene. And this is what the shot looks like without any editing on it at all. You can see I just took my time and flew it straight out to be able to get this big viewpoint. Now, a couple things to think about. When you're flying manual, you want to make sure that you're not bumping the drone up and down or left and right, because all of those movements are going to be accentuated even more when you speed it up. So you want to try to create the smoothest move from your subject to this viewpoint, and you want to do a straight line. Now this is where quick shots will come into play, because quick shots make it super easy to create these super smooth lines. And not only can you do this like pull out effect, but using one of the quick shots like the helix, you can create this crazy arc around your subject, and it's going to be perfect because of the automation that's built into your drone. So that's why using a DJI drone like the Mini 2 that has quick shots built into it will make this effect just look that much better. You can use these automations to perfect the movement. So if you're using quick shots, you'll just lock in on your subject and then set your distance away from camera. I highly suggest bumping it up to the furthest distance that you can, and then let the shot play out. So you can see right here, this is the helix shot from the DJI Mini 2, and this is just a quick shot. And you can see that the drone goes all the way around us standing on this viewpoint, and it's just gonna keep going and going until it gets to the final spot where it stops and just sits there. Now that's key. You want to have a moment where on the front end, you're just locked in on your subject, and then a moment on the back end where you're locked in on the vista, because those two moments within the video are going to play out in real time. So a few key things when you're flying. 1, if you're shooting manual, make sure that you're smooth from beginning to end. And 2, you could flip it into one of the automation modes and be able to get a super smooth shot and just let the drone do all the work for you. All right, so step 2, let's talk about speed ramping. And we're gonna jump into Final Cut. That's the editing software that I use. However, you can do this technique with most editing softwares out there. So I'm gonna show you how you do it in Final Cut, but just know that there is this ability in other editing softwares as well. So the first thing you wanna do is look for the moment that you wanna play out in real time. And this is that moment where I'm just walking towards camera. That's a smooth section. So I'm gonna cut that, and I'm gonna make sure that that is what plays out in real time. Now the next point I wanna look for is when the drone is fully away from me and it's still smooth. You can see how I kind of do a bump here on the later end of the shot. So I want it to stop here, and I'm gonna go back probably about that much. All right, so I'm gonna trim the heads and the tail of that section. So now I have the basic boomerang. So I have the first section here, which is gonna play out in real time. I have the last section here, which is also gonna play out in real time. And then I have this middle section, and this is the section that I wanna speed up. Now, because this effect is so quick, I really don't need to speed ramp the ins and outs. I really just need to speed up this one section. So I'm gonna click Apple R, and that pulls up my retiming tools. And I could either go through and do fast, I can do a custom speed where I add a rate or a duration. But on Final Cut, I like to just grab this section right here where the little bar is and pull it back. And so that automatically speeds it up based on how far I pull this to the left. So now let's just watch this real quick. So that's pretty good. It's a simple, just zoom straight out. But we're not gonna end right there, because from here, there's a whole set of things that you can do to really make this shot stand out. So that's just the simple retiming. It's just take the section in the middle, speed it up. I have mine set at 3,840%. that just gives you an idea of how fast you can make that middle section to give it that boom out to the wide shot. So from here, the next step that I do is I add a motion blur effect, because when the camera zooms out, I want to give this feeling of quick, fast motion. And to do that, you can just add a motion blur effect. And I'll link to one down below in the description. It's the one that I'm using here in this shot. And how it works is I just drop it on top and it creates a motion blur based on the footage that is underneath it. So I have this effect just called motion blur, and it goes from 1 all the way up to 6, and then it has motion blur max and motion blur min. On this shot, what I found is that motion blur 4 seems to look good. And basically all of these are different strengths. And depending on how fast your computer is, this might actually make your computer really chug and slow down. I'm excited to get an M1 and really see how these kind of effects apply, because right now I'm working off of a maxed out MacBook Pro and I still have issues when I work with some of these plugins. So I've added the motion blur just right on top. You can see this fast section underneath, motion blur on top, and this is what it looks like with just that on there. So a little bit of motion blur, it just gives that feeling of vroom, zooming out. Now the next step is to add sound effects, because sound effects is really going to help sell this zoom out. If you put like a whoosh sound effect, it just intensifies the shot even more. So I have 3 here that I've brought into this project: a low wind whoosh, a shaker whoosh, and a rumble shutter flash. So these are kind of a combination of a whoosh sound effect with some others type of sound. So like a shaker or a rattle. These effects that I'm using kind of combine them and it gives it a different quality than just whoosh. So I like the sound of the shaker whoosh, and I'm gonna add that underneath. So because the way the sound effect is, it has a slow build up and then it tapers off. So right at this moment where it hits, that's where I wanna start this zoom out. So I'm gonna just set this right around there. So that's a good way to just go from your subject out to the vista and everything else around you. So now when you want to create this into a boomerang, you want to reverse the effect. So now we're going to add the same sped up section on the back end of this clip, reverse it, and go back to the initial shot. So the first thing we want to do is grab this part that we've sped up, and we're going to duplicate it on the back end. Now I'm going to use Apple R again, and that's going to bring up my retiming, and I'm going to go to custom, and I'm going to go to reverse. So now essentially we're all the way out here, and instead of zooming out, it's gonna zoom in. And what I'll do is I'll take this section and I'm gonna duplicate that and put in the front. So now you might notice there's a little jump here. So all I did was extend this clip 1 frame, and that was enough to make this seamless. Okay, so we have our front half. This is me walking. We zoom out with the motion blur. We see the entire shot, and then it zooms back to the initial shot of me walking. And from here, now what we need to do is add the same motion blur effect over this section. Make sure it's timed exactly. And then let's add a different sound effect for zooming back in. So I'm gonna pull up the 3 sound effects I brought in. Let's use the low wind whoosh this time. And then from here, you basically take this and duplicate it on your timeline, and you can make an infinite boomerang. It goes in and out, boom, ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. Now the next step to sell this even more is add a little bit of music underneath it. So what I have here is just a track that I pulled off of Epidemic Sound. That's what I use to get my music. And I just have this playing underneath this whole boomerang section. So depending on how you're gonna use this effect in your videos, you can put a little bit of music under it, and it's just gonna add that through line through the video where you have this continuous music track playing, but then the boomerang's happening in and out, in and out. Now from here, what I would do is add a color grade. So I would just add an adjustment layer above all of this, and then do a color grade on that adjustment layer. Now you don't have to do the color grading last, you could do this first. So when you first pull the clip down and before you start editing this boomerang, you can apply your color grade then. But my workflow a lot of times in Final Cut is using an adjustment layer on top and then adding my color grade to that. Now I have a completed boomerang with a little bit of music underneath it, and it's pretty solid. I could use this to upload to like Instagram, I could use it for my stories, but this effect works great on drone shots when you wanna start on your subject and then zoom out. Now here's the effect on the helix, and you can see I did the exact same steps, but because I used the automation and the helix mode, it creates a very different looking boomerang than the original just zoom out and zoom in. So you can use your quick shots to create these cool looking effects, whether you want to make a boomerang or you just want a quick transition in one of your videos. All right, guys, if you haven't checked out some of my other tutorials on the DJI Mini 2, I highly suggest you start up here. The beginner's guide. This is going to go through everything you need to know about your Mini 2. All right, guys, I'll see you over there.